what I wanted to open up and talk about was the fact of what your employees, what people need from leaders right now. And at this exact moment, I am super thankful to be able to say and see that our governor is actually opening up a lot more of the businesses. I mean, I'm seeing landscapers are now able to open. I'm seeing some of the smaller stores that were forced to be closed, deemed non-essential, are now going to be able to open up and get started. I love seeing that. So I'm super excited about that. I mean, let me get some thumbs up and some hearts on that, because that's a big, big step in the right direction. All of that to say this, as a business owner, and this is really talking to entrepreneurs, business owners, people that are working with others, leading in some way. There's definitely a significant need in our world today of what people are looking for, how people are wanting to be responded to. And I'm seeing that even in the threads. And there's been multiple threads that I've seen come through where somebody expresses an opinion. In fact, it's happened on my page, and then somebody else will express a disagreeing opinion, and then all of a sudden this fight ensues. And it's a shame, and it's unfortunate, because there are two validated perspectives and two ways that people look at it. And as leaders, as we look at this, how do we validate both sides, whether we agree or don't agree? How do we come at this from a position of, we need to be able to hear the individual and value the individual, even if we don't agree with what their position is. So think of it this way, and this is the very first one, is the fact that what people need right now more than ever is compassion. As an employer, as a business owner, your employees need to be able to have and hear the compassion coming through, the empathy. And that's part of leadership. I mean, leadership is all about results, but there's this split, this duality that happens in leadership between the results and the heart. Because if you get results without a heart, that means you're using people and abusing them. If you only have a heart and you don't get results, that means you're most likely being walked upon. That means most likely you're not going to have a successful business, and most likely it's going to close down. So that's the very first thing, is what the people need from us is compassion. They need the empathy. They need to hear that in your voice. They need to hear that in how you communicate. There was an article that just posted, and it was really, it was a shame to see, because one of the, I think it was on from Business Insider, and it was an employer that received the PPP loan, which for those that don't know, it's the payroll protection, and they received the loan so they could actually get their business back open. They could get their basically their life back on track. So all excited about it, ended up going and talking to our employees, and all of a sudden the employees looked at it and said, what the heck are you thinking? Why would you even want to be able to get back started? I'm making more money on unemployment. Now, how would you approach that situation? And I'd love to hear some comments on this. How would you approach that situation? If you're the business owner, you've got in your mind like, hey, we actually finally get to open up. We're able to get going back. And then all of a sudden you get this basic mutiny from employees saying, why would I ever want to go back to work because I'm making more money on unemployment? So how would you handle that with compassion? How would you be able to do it? This actually came up in I had multiple coaching situations. I had multiple different things that Brandon said to me. She didn't let the window cleaners come back. I know we're still working on it. I get it. There's a lot of different people that are not quite back to work yet, and I know that the legislature is working on it. But I'm taking the little wins and moving forward with the little wins. So, but as we kind of go through this, the compassion and how you can actually get started and be able to look at that. I was coaching with several people, and where we were going through and what we were doing and what we were talking about was specifically, this is the time when your culture makes all of the difference. So if you haven't been leading well, if you haven't been building your tribe, if you haven't been working with the employees and getting them to be loyal to you and understand the vision and the core values that are behind the business, and that it's not that you're just there to cut hair, you're not just there to do this or whatever, there's actually a larger vision. When you have that part in place, that gives you the ability now to be able to come back and say, look, we are able to get back and get started on this vision again. And as you show that compassion and as you present that compassion to people, it gives you the ability to be able to bring your employees back. So the big difference is, obviously, I use the example, but in some of the companies that I'm working with and the coaching people that I'm working with, Brett, for example, he ended up calling up one of his employees, and his employee, he's only bringing him back on a part-time situation. She's going to be making less than what she was making for unemployment, but she wanted to get back to work. She wanted to be a part of a greater good. She wanted to be part of a tribe and being able to accomplish something. And there are people out there that want to do that. And I truly believe the spirit and the heart of America is really all about that. because there's a certain amount of value that people have in doing things and accomplishing things. There's this value that they get from being able to go out and be productive and be parts of the society. Now, is not everybody like that? Of course not. There's always exceptions to the rule. But I also still believe that there's a vast majority of people that are looking to be able to get back involved and want to be active and want to contribute and want to produce. So you have to be compassionate. You have to show compassion as you're communicating with them and saying, look, this is where we're going. This is what's going on. I hear you. I understand you. But don't ostracize. Don't push them off, because if you dismiss their thoughts, their feelings, what's going on, if you dismiss those, it's just as if you're dismissing them as an individual. So there's a big, big difference there, right? So I want to make sure that we're looking at that. I'm actually going to take a pause here, and I'm just going to open up this live feed here because I want to make sure that I'm not missing any comments, because I'm not seeing anything. So give me a second, and I'm going to mute some things here. There we go. All right, looking for comments, just making sure. All right. So I've seen, Eric, John, Justin, a bunch of people are joined on watching. I just want to make sure I don't miss any comments on that. All right, perfect. So as we look at this, that's the very first thing. What the people need, what your employers need, first of all, is compassion. You know, they need to be able to know and understand that they are being heard, that their opinion is valued, that you value them as an individual. Because again, if you dismiss their opinions, it's as if you're dismissing them and don't value them as a person. And no leader ever will want to be able to do that, right? All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I'm getting a couple other messages here, just making sure that all right, Ray, good to have you. Glad you joined on. Again, I know that there's a 10-second delay, so you guys are going to be on for a couple seconds before I recognize that. All right, so the second thing then is, first thing is compassion. The second thing is stability. We've often heard people talking about creating stable environments, looking for a stable environment. Right now in our times, obviously, our routines have been turned upside down. Our lives have been turned upside down. Our kids are back at home. We're doing all kinds of crazy things that are based back in a different routine. Again, our lives have been turned upside down. Our things have just gone along that, right? So what your people are looking for is some sense of stability. So you approach them and you look at that and saying, okay, what is it that you can provide as an employer, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, even as a father or a mother? What can you provide to be able to create more of a stable environment for those that you are influencing, those that you are leading? And thinking of it in those terms makes a big difference as you step forward and as you're looking at that, because with all of the things that are outside of their control, all the things that are outside of your control, what are the things that you can control? As a leader, first starts with your own disciplines. It first starts with your own habits. It starts with what are you doing? And I've talked with many of the people, again, I'm using a lot of examples from my coaching experience and from what we've talked about. But again, one of the things that is really, really an important piece is to make sure that you're getting back on track with your health routine, getting back on exercising, making sure that your eating habits are correct, your sleeping patterns are correct, you're getting up at the same time. I had one individual that ended up sleeping in on a more of a regular basis. Like, I don't understand what's wrong with me. I'm so frustrated. It's like, well, let's get back to the routine. You were getting up at 5 every morning to be able to get this done and this done, your quiet time, your exercise, and then you were driving into work, and that was part of your routine. But now you're sleeping until 7 because you don't have to be there. You don't have to do things. Maybe we start getting back up at 5 again, put that routine back in. And then at 7 o'clock when you have to deal with the kids, now you're ready for it. You're building back that energy. So it starts obviously with inside your own personal. Second, then it expands out like a ripple effect to those that are in your family, and then those that are your employees. And so many times we tell everybody, hey, you need to have weekly meetings. You need to have leadership meetings, work with your teams. We've kind of put that on pause because we're in survival, trying to figure out just how to live life again. Maybe you need to institute and put those meetings back in place. Now, obviously using the social guidelines and things, it may end up being a Zoom call that you have on a weekly basis. One of our coaching groups, we just had a happy hour. It was so refreshing because we were all able to get back together and kind of just talk about whatever was on our minds. Doing those kinds of things allows you to start connecting and create more stability in everyone's life, which is what everybody's desiring right now. We just need to know where we're going with that. All right, so first of all is compassion. Second of all is stability. The third thing is trust. Now, trust is something that is extremely, how can I say this? It's something that you're looking at and being able to, once you gain it, it's really, really fast to lose. Because it just takes a few things to lose that trust with somebody else. And it may be just a comment that was misinterpreted, misunderstood, but trust is such an absolute key element in the leadership aspect. And so you have to be real. When you're talking with your employees and bringing people back, you have to be real and transparent. It's an absolute critical piece, because what we often do as business owners, as entrepreneurs, and I count myself in as, what we often do is we overpromise things, because we look at the future as very optimistic in most cases. And optimistically, we assume that certain things are going to happen that we have zero control over. And by assuming that, when we talk to our employees, we project that this will happen. This is going to happen. They hear that as an absolute. If you come at it from that angle, and that absolute is outside of your control, and you have to adapt like we always do, and you have to adjust like we always do, that breaks trust. So you have to couch your words very, very carefully. You have to look at it from the perspective of, this is what we are dreaming about doing if it's possible. This is what we plan to do if all of these other things come into play. And you put that and say, this is how we're going to move forward unless something changes. So there's that stability coupled with the reality that are going to be really important to be able to build that trust. Stephen Covey Jr. wrote an awesome book. It's called The Speed of Trust, which is really a great explanation. If you feel like you've lost trust either with your family, employees, it can be rebuilt, and that part is being rebuilt through action. So I strongly recommend that book. It's called The Speed of Trust. It's a great book. It talks about the ripple effect and how to be able to build more trust, and a lot of transparency in showing the ideas. So without kind of belaboring that point, because he does so much, he's such a better, awesome job of talking about that than I do. So, hey, Kathleen, I see you guys are on there. Man, let me know if you've got questions, because again, I've seen a lot of people are watching, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions yet. I just want to make sure I keep going through this. So the last one. So first one is compassion. Second one is stability. Third one is trust. And the fourth one is hope and inspiration for the future. Viktor Frankl wrote, he was a leading psychologist, and he wrote an incredible book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he talked about how there was a very distinct time when he knew, he basically called him the Walking Dead. No reference to the movie or shows or anything else like that. But basically, it was a very distinct time when he could see the hope leave an individual's eyes. And I've seen this happen a lot. And it's a shame, because in an employee's eyes, when you see the hope is gone, it's really difficult to get it back. But they need hope. They need to know that there's going to be a better time. There's going to be inspiration for the future. These things are absolutely critical to be able to look at how we're going to slingshot and then be able to grow into our business as far as within the future. All right, so as we look at that, how do we create hope? How do we create inspiration? And that's, again, part of the trust, the stability. We create stable backgrounds. We create trust with our employees. And then we present a realistic future and what that future will look like. Now, this comes down into developing your vision and the mission and the core values through what you're doing. It's foundational parts of working. But any communication, so how does this all apply to everybody? How does this apply to your small business? When you go back and talk to your employees and saying, hey, this is how we're going to get started back up, I want you to think of these 4 things in your communication. Are you being compassionate in the way that you're communicating how you're going to start back up? Are you showing stability in how the business is going to move forward? Are you building trust in the way that you're communicating? And are you showing hope for the future in how you're communicating, how you're going to get started back up? Because this is all core elements. This is building trust. This is building your culture within the company, developing that. It's you creating a mindset of looking forward and being proactive rather than reactive. This is truly what leadership is all about. When you look at this and you can communicate. I posted another question here. What do I think? Yeah, I can't really read that right now because I see the office piece. Brandon, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get back with you on that part of it. So let me do a little bit more investigation on that and see exactly what's going on. Because that, I know it's a big deal. I know it's a really, really big deal. Hey, Michael, thanks for the like, brother. I'm going to share this out. And then, again, if you have questions and you're watching the review, please, by all means, I will definitely follow up with some of the questions. If you need help with putting together a plan, looks like Kathleen's got their plan. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. But if you need help with a plan, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can maybe set up a call. We can look at that. Let's see here. Any other questions there? No. Okay, so I got to look at that one. All right, Brandon, I promise I will get back to you on that. All right, I'm going to close it out. Again, I will definitely follow up with any other additional questions that may be. My goodness, I'm looking at my hair. It's a mess because I need a haircut. All right, that's off the record. All right, we'll see you guys. Appreciate y'all, and we'll definitely talk soon.